All right. Who's ready to draw? I'm ready to draw. Hey, if you're watching live, I just want to thank you for coming and checking out my YouTube channel. If you're watching this after the fact, thank you again for coming and taking a look at some of the content that I'm trying to put up there. As advertised, tonight is all going to be about dynamic figures. So I'm gonna go through my process, do a lot of drawings, and talk about the mindset and how I like to go about approaching my figures. So we're gonna have my main camera over here, get my over-the-shoulder camera here. I'll also share my screen here. So I'm hoping that can give us a really fun, dynamic experience. Yeah. Why don't we go ahead and get started? I find, best place to start is just to start. Am I getting somehow my blacks look a little not what I was expecting? Oh, maybe I have there we go. That's better. If I was in the figure drawing class, this is probably where I'd be starting off with my gestures. I don't have a model in front of me right now, obviously, so I'm just going to use this chance to kind of limber up and just get some ideas down on the page. Some of the things that I want to cover in the next, I don't know, I'm thinking maybe roughly 90 minutes or so, is mainly I want to talk about like creating a shorthand for the anatomy, because I think that's kind of key to drawing quickly, is just being able to boil. All of these drawings look kind of the same. Just being able to boil that anatomy down into simplified shapes. Not necessarily drawing accurate anatomy. This guy or girl is like really getting into something here. I'm just gonna keep banging out some gestures here. Maybe I can get a bit of a maybe he's got the iPhone there. It's a pretty pretty topical kind of a gesture. And if you are watching live right now, don't be afraid to just throw something in the chat there. It'll let me know that you're there, and just kind of make the thing kind of fun and interactive. my apologies. I haven't soundproofed my room, so you're going to be getting some of the outdoor ambiance there. Let's warm up with a few more quick gestures. Let's get some different kind of shapes as well. And pull. Really important to not forget about the neck. That neck is a limb that moves the head around. Okay, that guy turned out a little bit more bewildered than I was expecting. There we go. Give him a little axe. Mainly what I'm trying to do at this stage is just warm up all the, arm mechanics, shoulder mechanics, etc. that I'm going to be using as I'm drawing. I'm trying to be mindful that my line work stays fairly what's the word? Economical. And why is that important? Well, it basically comes down to being able to convey your ideas more quickly with less kind of scratchiness. Like instead of all these scratchy lines to make a line of action, maybe I can do the same thing just with the one. It's going to look a little cleaner. It's going to look a little bolder. And at the end of the day, drawing is a personal experience. It's a personal expression. And especially if you're drawing for yourself, that should be an enjoyable experience. So if you're finding that that you're not getting that kind of joy out of drawing for yourself, it could just be that you're still on the search for your particular style or your particular way, or I mean, even me, I think I'm still actively searching for my way. What is my way? Get some noodly arms there. He's like going in for the limpest handshake that you've ever seen. Something I'm always trying to be mindful in my drawings is just that they have that flow, they have that sense of movement, that sense of being. I don't want my drawings to feel static. I want them to feel like we've sort of like a snapshot. Okay, I'm gonna gonna open up a new I'm gonna do a flip book actually. I like flip books because they really lend themselves to kind of honing in on those shorthands. So we can talk about that a little bit. If we're talking about the human figure, there's some basic anatomy going on under the hood that we want to be aware of. Just quickly gesture out a rib cage and a little pelvis there. We're typically going to be using an 8-head. Measurement. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. About two heads down should get us roughly to the belly button. About one head down should get us roughly to the bottom of the pec muscles. Four heads. I need to be counting that top one. About 4 heads down get us roughly to the groin area. About 6 heads down, that's going to get us roughly to the knees. About 7 heads down is roughly going to get us to the arms, and 8 heads down is roughly going to get us to the feet. So when we're doing the dynamic figures, we're not going to be stopping and measuring out all of those proportions every step of the way, but it's just something that we can keep in the back of the mind as we go to be thinking about. The rib cage itself is pretty narrow, but then what gives us that form coming off the sides, if we're looking from the front, we'll see the collarbones, and on the back side we'll see the scapula back there, and those are giving us a lot of the that extra volume, that extra width, off of the sides, and that collarbone and that scapula. They're really responsible for all the moving around of the shoulders and the arms. So when we're trying to get our dynamic poses and our dynamic figures, we can start thinking about how that volume of the shoulder is attached. Does it overlap the rib cage? Is the body twisting? Is the shoulder raising in order to lift that arm? Because all of those interconnections are going to help the figure to feel more grounded, which makes it feel more inviting and more believable. And in terms of building up, and this is kind of a step back before we jump ahead into more dynamic figures. Just so that we can talk about the forms and how those can be used to build up the figure. And the forms that we use, they're mainly going to be cylinders, often spheres, sometimes maybe a bit of a soft cylinder. If you think about the hinge of the wrist, for example, there's a point of articulation between the end of the ulna radius and the beginning of all those hand bones in there. So we want to account for the fact that there's space in between for all that flexing around to happen. So as I get to the end of the forearm down here, for example, which the arm kind of starts out more rounded, but then as we get down towards the wrist, it becomes a lot more square, a lot more rigid. So if I imagine that sort of squishy sort of hinge, and then also the hand can kind of be built up off of that similar block shape, then we can start to get a nice feeling of structure in those forms. And then once we have a good understanding of that, then we can start indicating those through shorthand techniques and quicker line work. Get his little thumb coming off there. There's some muscles coming down there from the rib cage. We've got the abdomen here, of course, the obliques over on the sides, responsible for bending the torso. The legs also, similar to the forearms, that form can start a little bit more rounded and gets a little sharper, angular towards the knee. The knee, of course, is very blocky. The calf gets fairly rounded again. There's that line of the tibia bone across the front there. Then we have various forms of the foot, all kind of working to create those shapes. And neck, of course, we've got a lot of connector muscles in there connecting the neck to the rest of the body. So we're going to kind of try and keep the 8 heads measurement in mind, but we're gonna focus on more shorthand techniques. Like I was saying, a great way to develop those shorthands is to actually key, you know, like start drawing out some thumbnails, or start drawing you know, the key poses in a bit of animation. I'm gonna I'm gonna reference for a moment the good old flour sack, because that was such a such a great exercise for getting all that personality into a little inanimate object. Little excited over there. Can we make the flour sack feel a little deflated? And there's going to be a lot of techniques that come out of the flour sack that we're going to use when we start building up the forms of our dynamic figures. There we go. A few happy little flour sacks and some other emotional ranges there. So when I'm approaching my dynamic figures, I'm typically starting with trying to establish sort of that bean shape, pretty similar to the bean shape of those flour sacks. And I'm going to try to introduce a good amount of torque and tension at this early stage. I'm going to be looking for ways that I can maximize that in the. Let's go ahead and move over to the over the shoulder here for a little bit. To keep the drawings really energetic, we're trying to do a lot of the drawing from up here as well. So sometimes, you know, the shoulder might even get a little tired, may even need a little bit of a break. I've done those gestural warm-ups earlier, so I feel pretty good about the looseness of the lines right now. Eventually, I can start to even include the clothes in the gesture as well, not just relying on the anatomy of the figure. This subject is looking a little almost like there's some danger on the horizon. Gonna get that other hand out there. Now this drawing is coming out pretty scratchy. You know, I'm throwing down a lot of kind of searching lines. I'm gonna try to I'm gonna try to go a little bit more bold in the next one. Get that nice bold eye line on our subject. Just throw some basic indications of the fabric there. I want to keep the hands really lively as well. And you can kind of see I'm throwing in some kind of indications of some of the structure. I'm not fully feeling like I'm committing to any part of the drawing just yet. It's still very much a search. I think we need to establish what is causing this individual all this distress and making them feel like they need to quicken their pace. So let's move our figure a little bit over towards screen right, and let's not sure where this is going. But it's something something to give our subject a reason to speed up that pace. Should it have a tail? Sure, we'll give it a tail. Whatever that is. We'll give it some feathers. As well. Some kind of sure. Let's just turn that into a beak. Okay, something to ponder. not sure exactly what we're dealing with there. But this is all the land of make-believe, so it's all good. Let's start up another one. So, like I was saying, this This one went more of a scratchy kind of almost like a non-committal kind of a route, and that can sometimes help if we are really kind of just wanting to search out the drawing. I actually quite like this method of just putting the pen to the paper or the stylus to the screen. And just letting it flow. Depending on it's almost like a contour drawing approach in that way. And so depending on the type of character that you're going for, or the type of mood, that you want to indicate, this can be a nice way to get that. Or, or maybe you're just looking for a nice kind of relaxing activity, and I feel like this kind of provides that as well. It's kind of just like a mellow little search for the essence of that drawing. It's kind of nice for bringing out that foreshortening as well, like we've got in the leg here. So for organic forms, that's really nice and fun. But again, those lines can get even more economical even than what we've got there. Maybe I can get an indication in fewer lines, or maybe it's nice to bring different body types into the mix as well, which offer up a lot of different opportunities in terms of gestures. So instead of being such a kind of a scratchy, like hacking at the paper or hacking at the screen, like this one was, this is a much more gentle kind of search. And I just got just as I was talking about that, I just got the urge to kind of just gently scribble out like there we go. Just a couple of lovebirds at the table. There we go. Oh yeah. So going back to that flour sack, just for a moment there, one of the things that we can really take away from the flour sack is the relationship of forms interacting with each other. So those, let's ignore that one. That one's no good. But you know, even just those basic principles of getting a big stretch balanced with more of a squash, things like that are going to help add more of a sense of groundedness and give more of a tactile feeling to the drawing. So for this page, I wanna focus more on just being a little bit more bold. So I basically want to get the drawing with fewer lines. Let's adjust that one a little bit. There we go. It's almost like we've got a first-time shopper or something in the in the supermarket. We're gonna need some more room out there. So this is something that can actually be really satisfying, is just getting the drawings with bolder line work. And I don't really ever want my characters' feet to feel like they're planted on the ground. I want them to pretty much always feel like they're in movement. This guy's clearly very passionate about something. What is it? I'll never tell. I'm just going to kind of attack this page with some of these bolder uses of line. Get somebody enjoying a good book, looks like. Now, if we're always just drawing the same body types all the time, it's really gonna limit the variety of the types of characters or even types of stories that we can tell with those drawings. This kind of happened organically, but it's just an example of contrasting shapes between the two forms, which is always fun. Let's go ahead and start another one. What I'm gonna do here is, there we go. Just gonna throw a bunch of lines down because I'm starting to feel that I'm overthinking the drawings a little bit, and I just want to step back and just feel, just kind of let them reveal themselves to me again. So let's just kind of go through and let that happen. Spending too much time in there. Let's move on. This is just the idea phase. So the whole point is not to invest a lot of time this person is like really excited, or actually maybe oh yeah, it's like the lead up for a spike in a game of beach volleyball. Down here, I think it's time to start bringing some animals into the mix. Oh, he looks a little downtrodden though. That's unfortunate. A little dog. I think this is going to be the begrudging tourist. As you can see, this individual is still a little behind the times technology-wise. Oops. Let's see. Here, oh yeah, this could be a nice almost like a sports highlight. Keep running out of room for the heads. There we go. Send that ball flying. Oh, those lines were interesting. That took it in like a totally different direction all of a sudden. Not what I was expecting from that shape. It's kind of fun when they surprise you like that. So yeah, that's kind of fun, you know. Just because that's my line doesn't mean that's where I have to go next. Running out of room at the bottom there. I've got some like serious toxic masculinity issues going on there. What else? We've got a couple more on here. Let's do that. And this one can be a nice almost like hailing a cab. The drawings are kind of bleeding into each other a little bit there, but that's a really fun little exercise. Kind of gets you out of the head a little bit. Just kind of work with what's there in those lines. Let's grab another one here. It's also fun to get a little bit more into the outfit as being part of the gesture. So we can actually use the costume there to help establish that character, that figure. Including indications of clothing in the drawing really help as well to indicate things like, is the volume of that arm coming towards us or going away from us? Because if I did kind of the same thing, and also the forms here, there's an indication of like here, this indicates that the forearm is in front of the upper arm, so we get an indication that's coming towards us. Here, the forearm is layered underneath the upper arm, so right away we get an indication, pardon me, of which direction that's going. But maybe if we throw a little watch on there as well. Having those details in the drawing as well are helpful for adding more information early on, giving the viewer something to latch onto. If I was maybe wanting to explore a character, I might try putting that character in a range of situations. What would they look like seated? This guy's kind of turning out to be a bit of a grump. that leg's coming forward, we'll get that arm coming back. If that character was needing to break into a run all of a sudden. What might that look like? Probably get that tie. Kind of mix and match different techniques. Like this one I did a little bit of searching underneath, but then once I was fairly happy with that, I switched over to the more bold lines to finish it off. Of course he's going to lose his hat if he breaks into a run. So we kind of started with forms and structure, and I mean this anatomy is way off because I need to brush up. But starting with the forms and taking things back to the simplicity of the good old flour sack, trying some different techniques to loosen up and kind of broaden with different approaches to gesture drawing, bold lines, lots of energy. Those are some of the key things that I that I try to seek when I'm drawing for myself, and I want my drawings to feel I want them to feel pretty visceral. I want the viewer to be able to feel what the characters are feeling, and those are just some things that are important to me. When I'm drawing, everybody's different. Everybody has different values or things that they want to get out of the experience. And sketching is it is a journey, and it is a very personal experience. And the art is an expression. It's an extension of the creator. So these are just some of the thoughts that I'm sharing about how I like to draw and how I like to approach it. But I think each person can define those priorities and what they feel is important to seek out in the drawing for themselves. So I'm glad I was finally able to get this sketch stream going. It took a lot of research. I'll have some resources put into the description below, and I look forward to doing some more of these. So again, anybody who was sitting in on the live broadcast, thanks again. And if you weren't able to, and you're catching this after the fact, thanks for checking it out. And I'll see you in the next one.